welcome to this week's edition of FTSR Driver of the Week. Each week, we shine a spotlight on one of our outstanding drivers, sharing their unique story. This week, we have an incredible driver who truly embodies the spirit of FTSR. Let's dive in and get to know our Driver of the Week, TJ Bartel.
All right, welcome everyone. We are here with our second episode of FTSR Driver of the Week. This week, we have one of the OGs of FTSR. This driver comes to us with 560 starts, 8 poles. He has 21 race wins between the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, the Next Gen Series, the Gen 4 Series, and the Gen 6 Series. He was the 2007 Truck Series Champion, which was the first ever Truck Series Champion here at FTSR. He also has the distinguishing mark of winning the first ever truck race at FTSR. And he's added a Gen 4 championship in 2023. And he is now our current 2024 Truck Series champion. So I'd like to welcome TJ Bartel. Hey, TJ, how's it going?
Good, Richie. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Not a problem, TJ. I think you're a great candidate to start this series with. You're always very consistent here at FTSR. And I got to tell you, I'm glad to see you got that Truck Series championship. You definitely whooped us at Phoenix, and you got the win when you definitely needed to get the win, and you had such a great run.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I never would have seen that coming. You know, Phoenix is not my favorite track, and with the competition as stiff as it is here, I was really kind of surprised that I made the Final Four, to be honest, and, got into the race and realized that, I didn't have quite the pace everyone else had. So I said, I have to do something different, because if I follow you guys on the same pit sequence and all that, I'm never going to get ahead of you. I'm never going to have a chance to, do what I was able to do. So I just had to think outside the box and just kind of play the race my way.
Sometimes it works like that.
Yes. Back in the old days when I won the first one, I could count on being faster. I could count on being top 3 in speed week in and week out, except for a few tracks. But iRacing's been a tougher road for me, so I don't usually have that speed that I need. But, it's being consistent and just, doing different things than other people do and trying to make that work.
Yeah, I mean, iRacing is definitely different. I know you probably started on NASCAR racing 2003, like a lot of us did, maybe even older, but iRacing definitely changed the dynamics of how the racing was. And especially with them changing things all the time. They changed the truck halfway during the year. I like what they did, but not everybody has. So it's definitely an ever evolving type of racing at this point.
Yeah, that is the good thing about it. It does change every so often. So it's not like you're running the same track with the same setup, for an eon at a time. Right. And it makes you, have to adjust. Sometimes you have to adjust setup. Sometimes you have to adjust the way you drive, to maximize on whatever the vehicle needs. So it's a moving target for sure.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into some questions here for our Driver of the Week. The first one, we're going to go through some stuff about yourself. First one is, where do you live? Where are you from?
I am living in Virginia. Been here since 1997. Originally, I'm from a small little town in upstate New York, but been in Virginia ever since and like it down here pretty much.
Where in upstate New York?
A little town called Ghent.
Where's that? Which part of upstate New York?
It is right in the Hudson River Valley, and it is about 45 minutes south of Albany on the east side of the Hudson River.
That's probably within an hour of where I live here in North Jersey.
Yeah, it's probably not too awful far.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. See, that's what we're here for. We're here to learn stuff.
That's right. Winters were a bear, and I said, I've had enough of this.
Actually, I'd love to move down south myself, because the one thing, winters definitely suck up here.
Yeah, they're a challenge.
So let's move into how old you are. Are you married? Do you have kids?
60 years old. So yeah, I'm one of the veterans of FTSR. Married, yes, to my lovely wife for 41 years. Have 2 children. My oldest one is married and has a daughter, so we have a granddaughter, and my youngest son I lost in a traffic accident 10 years ago. So,
Oh, sorry about that. Hear that.
yeah, thank you. But think about him a lot. And he used to sim race, kind of liked it a lot. My oldest son, Eric, used to sim race too. And then he got a driver's license and girlfriend, and that was that. But he was better than I am.
Well, we got to get him back.
I'd like to, but he's too busy with other things. So, but he was very good.
Life always tends to get in the way. Dang it.
It does. It does.
So, yeah, what do you do for a living when you're not sim racing?
Well, when I moved to Virginia, I became a plumber and did that for 5 or 6 years. And then I became a plumbing, mechanical, and gas inspector for a locality in the area. So I've been doing that for almost 23 years.
Okay. So you went from being the plumber to being the inspector.
Yes. That's different side of the coin.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, it's always better to be the inspector than the inspected.
Well, I figured why not work smarter and not harder and see how that works out. So far, so good.
Okay. So when you're not inspecting plumbing and sim racing, do you happen to watch any type of racing on TV?
I used to be like a super diehard NASCAR fan. I didn't miss any races. I just watched them all. Trucks, Xfinity, Top Race. I watched them all. But,
Recently, it's been a challenge.
recently that has been a challenge, yes. I do watch some F1, but that's a challenge sometimes too, because it's a different animal. And the way they run things is interesting. But I enjoy the skill level there. I mean, I just, to me, racing is about going fast and, getting the car to handle and making the best lap times and stuff. It's not about gimmicks, lowering the horsepower so they don't go but maybe 170 miles an hour, but they stay 170 through the corner it's just, I don't know. I want horsepower and I don't want a lot of downforce. I want mechanical grip. And I want to be able to control what the car's doing with my inputs.
Got to be able to lift. If you don't lift, not in the driver's hand.
Exactly. And, Kevin Harvick told them, if you want to make the racing good, they got to have off throttle time. And, that's just a fact.
With iRacing, next gen car runs differently than what it seems to do in real life. So we have a lot of off throttle time with the next gen car. But it's such a, I don't know, pain. It's just very inconsistent. And if you don't do the same exact thing, you get such different results. It'd be fantastic if they give us a little bit more off throttle and fix. And I think it's all aero oriented, but they'd fix that. I think it'd be at least closer anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we do have a good amount of off-throttle time, more so than they do in real life. And I do think that the schizophrenia of the car's handling is aero imbalance stuff that's not quite accurate to what real life would be.
Yeah, I mean, I find if you go in a corner behind somebody and stick your left front out, the car handles differently than if you go in right behind them. If you're 2 or 3 car lengths back, I mean, there's so much different per lap. I don't know. I don't know how to sometimes it's hard to describe, but it's, you can go in a corner, which you feel like the exact same way. And because you were 100 feet closer to the car in front of you, the car acts differently. And it's a pain.
Yeah, it's really frustrating to kind of try and figure that out because it is so inconsistent with the way it reacts. Sometimes you feel that aero thing when you're 4 car lengths back, 5 car lengths back. And sometimes you got to get up to like 1 car length behind them before you really feel it. And it's just, it's not the same at every track, and it's not the same throughout a run either sometimes. So
right.
It is I always say it's schizophrenic. That's my term for that car, is just, because it doesn't, like, when the Xfinity car gets loose, you feel it and it gets loose and it just follows like a loose pattern. Where with the next gen car, it's starting to get, and then it just takes off and there's nothing you can do really to save it 9 times out of 10. So it's terrible at Richmond off of 2. I know that.
It's terrible.
Wow.
It depends on who you talk to, but there's definitely people that like it, and there's a lot of people that don't like it. All right, so how long have you been sim racing?
I started in 2001 with NASCAR 4 and, gravitated up the progressive ladder from N4 to 2002, which I did not like, and then to 2003, which at first I didn't like it, but then I grew very comfortable with it and figured out how to build setups for the car and especially the truck, and was very comfortable and confident in both, in all the time I spent there. Having said all that, unfortunately, you pick up, or I did, some bad habits from 2K3 that will absolutely never, ever in a million years work in iRacing. And trying to break those habits after, 15 or 18 years, whatever it was, I ran that other sim is, it's teaching an old dog new tricks kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, so iRacing's based on that engine, but they changed a lot of dynamics of physics of the cars, and they've definitely done it over the years. So I can completely understand why you need to try to get rid of some of them bad habits. But I think you're doing a pretty good job. I mean, every week you're up front and, you're racing for wins. Recently, you're winning championships again.
Yeah, it was really good. Like I said, just trying to be consistent, because consistency to me, is important. I don't want to be looked at as one of those guys that, he can only win on a plate track, or he
Right.
can only run well at whatever. I want to be known as, and I want to, hang my hat at the end of the day that, I was just a good, solid all around driver that was consistent. And doesn't cause problems for other people on the track. I always want to be a clean driver.
So, all right, where are we at here? How did you get into sim racing?
When I'd moved to Virginia, I had more time to, watch sports, and Richmond at that time, which I'm in the Richmond area, was huge NASCAR, because, the races came here twice a year, and it was a big deal when NASCAR came to town. And the guys I worked with were all NASCAR fans, either semi-serious or casual or whatever. And I just started watching. I'm like, wow, this is really, really cool. This is really awesome. And just watching the broadcasts and the races and stuff, I was like, this would be really cool. And we were doing a job at a house, and the guy had a steering wheel set up on a desk. And I'm like, what is that? And he goes, oh, I got a NASCAR game. He said, hey, you want to try it when I'm, whatever, go ahead. It's like, I didn't know they had such a thing. So it wasn't too far down the road, and ended up getting a laptop or a PC computer, and found a wheel somewhere, and went into the store and found, I think it was NASCAR 99 was the first game I had, which was cool because it had the trucks and the Xfinity cars and the Cup Series, all the tracks they used to run at. And I used to spend hours at night just touring around on that. And then I heard about that you could race online, and I'm like, wow, that would be pretty neat. And then, of course, I went out and got N4 and started my road in sim racing through that.
It's kind of funny because if you talk to a lot of our older members, they have a very similar story to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, most people probably followed a similar path.
Well, at least
as
the
I
older
did
guys.
there.
At least
Yeah,
the older guys.
It's like, because there's a lot of guys, and I'm not knocking this, I'm just saying this is, a fact. When we sit down at our rigs and race each Monday or Wednesday or whatever night it is, there's guys on there that never drove that high horsepower Gen 6 car.
Right.
So they don't know what, driving that car was compared to what we drive now. And even the truck then drove way different than the truck now.
Yeah. Yep. And you're right. There's a lot of guys that we race with, because we do have a bunch of younger guys in the league, and we say NASCAR 2003, and they're like, I wasn't even born yet.
That's true. It seems like light years ago, but gosh, the hours I spent on the computer on that is almost incalculable.
Me too. Me too. So now that you're established with your sim racing, what kind of equipment are you using?
Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. I am a dinosaur, so I haven't progressed like everyone else has. So my my best piece of my equipment is my Asus computer that I've had for like 2 years. I think that was a big step up. I have a 34-inch monitor, single monitor, and then I raced with a Logitech G27 wheel that I've had for probably 10 years, probably.
So you still run with that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to upgrade it at some point, but every time I hear somebody go, "Oh man, my wheel came unplugged or it stopped working, I had to reboot this, that, or the other," I'm like, man, that would fry me because I don't do well with last minute catastrophes like that, or like when I'm racing and something goes wrong. And I will say that, knock on wood, for however many decades I've been running Logitech G series wheels from back in the 2K3 days, I have very little problems, if any, with them. So
They work.
yeah, I mean, they're not the technology that the new stuff is, but they always work.
So that's one of the beauties about iRacing is that you can pick and choose what you want to use for equipment. If you want to use one monitor, 3 monitors, VR, direct drive, or any other types, and be fast and competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, if you get used to doing it a certain way, you make like I have buttons where I can look left or right to take the place of, say, a third monitor. It's not continuous like the 3 monitors should be, but I can look left or right. The other thing I do is I have opponents' engine noises turned up, but when they get close to me, I know because I can hear them.
Right.
So I don't really even need to see them. Plus, with the F3 screen, you can kind of tell who's coming and going, kind of deal.
So let's do a little bit about FTSR. FTSR has the charter system where they added owners and drivers. So who do you drive for at FTSR?
Well, technically, it's my own team, but I work with Wayne Grassi and Wayne Grassi Racing. All the engineering comes from Wayne.
I noticed is it WG Racing Virginia?
I changed it back to my original race team name, which was Ultra Motorsports, that I started way back in like 2008 or 9. I think it was 2009 at FTSR.
So that's you, Wayne, Bobby on trucks, and Sherwood too, right?
Yep. It's funny because, I'm the old guy, but yet I'm the youngest guy on that team, which is,
That's right. I'm the oldest one of mine, so.
Yeah, those guys are good to work with. I enjoy working with them. We tried to get Bobby to drive the next gen car, but he's like, nah, I don't think so.
We've tried for a couple of years to get him, and he's like, I hate that car. No way.
Yeah, it's definitely that. The thing about Bobby that I've always been impressed with is, and I wish I was good at it, but I'm not. He can adapt to whatever the setup is. He can figure out how he needs to drive it. Like the fixed setups, he's good at those. I'm terrible at them because I just too old to adapt to what I don't like. And Bobby's just able to do that. Wayne, he can drive a lot looser race car than I can, so can Sherwood. So I kind of have to have it how I need it. And it's a little bit different than everybody else on the team because Wayne has spent way too much time altering the setups because I'm the only one that doesn't like them because just the way I drive.
That could be tough. I know the team I work with, we do have a little bit of difference in how we do like our setup, but it does make it tough to come up with a setup that we could all use.
It is. It's like being married to 4 people. You have different, what you look for in a setup. Like I worked with Brody for a little bit, and even though we drive completely differently, we like the same setup.
Okay. Brody and I have a little bit different. We're a little bit different on what we look for.
Yeah, Wayne tends to burn up the right fronts, and I tend to burn up the left rears. And I understand how you burn the right front off, but I'm not understanding how I burn the left rear off. I can't figure that out.
It's in the cup car?
In everything I drive.
Really? That is a little unusual, actually.
Yes, I can take the maximum amount of cross weight out. I can go really soft on the left rear spring and have a big spring split between the left and the right and move the weight back, move the weight forward. It doesn't matter. I'm going to burn the left rear off.
Well, I will tell you that it definitely works for you because pretty much every race that we go to, when we get to about 20, 25 laps into a run, we all go, all right, where's TJ? Because he's going to be coming. And sure enough, there you come. You always end up with a good low run.
Yeah, I mean, that all started back in 2K3 days because pretty much with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 tracks at the most, the cars would always get tight. You know, the longer you went, they were going to tighten up on you regardless. It just didn't matter. That's what they were going to do. So I just got in the habit of babying and taking care of my right front tire because I knew I would need my right front tire halfway through the run when everybody else had done burned it off. I'm now, 4/10 faster than they are because I took care of it. So it's just something that was ingrained in me. That's what I can't qualify to save my life because it's just not ingrained in my driving style on not pacing myself. It's just so burned into me. That's pretty much all I can do is just run a pace.
Well, with FTSR, we get a lot of long green flag runs, so it definitely works out.
Yeah, I mean, that if we were like, to run 3 stages with a bunch of short runs, I'd be done. I need long runs, long green flag runs. And the less I have to go on pit road, the better off I am because I'm terrible there too. So, and restarts, I'm terrible on restarts. So the longer that it stays green, the better off I am.
Don't listen to him, folks. He keeps saying he's horrible on short runs. He's horrible on pit road. He's horrible on restarts. He's being modest.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's I don't know. I work on it sometimes, and sometimes I think you really nailed that one, and then the next one I'm terrible. So I don't know. It's a mystery to me sometimes on how I need to do certain things like restarts or getting on and off pit road quickly without screwing it up.
All right, so let's go back to some outer sim racing. So what kind of things do you like to do when you're not sim racing at work?
Well, my wife likes to go camping in the camper, so we go camping quite a bit. We have a permanent camp spot in a campground not too far away, and we end up going there most weekends if the weather's nice. So it's kind of a nice little getaway.
My wife and I bought an RV a couple of years ago. I used to use it to pull the race car and go racing, but we've done a lot of traveling with it over the last couple of years. Yeah, I'm a big fan of camping. Very relaxing.
It's nice to have like your home that you can take with you because, it's all your stuff. It's, your layout and all that kind of, it's got that nice comfort built in as far as it being home. And you can really go and see some awesome things, parks and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie.
Just throw it out there.
Gosh, I would probably say, just off the top of my head, probably Tombstone.
Nice. I'm your Huckleberry.
Exactly. I like a lot of historical things. I'm a big history buff, and I like that movie a lot. There's some things that aren't quite historically accurate, but it's a pretty good representation, and it's got some really awesome, memorable lines in
it. That is the one with Val Kilmer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I know there's 2 of them that came out right at the same time, but I like that one better.
Yeah, the one writer that, Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner did, is got some more historical content to it and a little more factual in some ways. But I think the way the characters are portrayed in Tombstone are just so much bigger and like they just stand out more. And the thing is, like, dude, I can't remember his name. He's the brother of the guy that's in Christmas movie.
Dennis Quaid?
Yes, yes. He does a really good job as Doc Holliday, but he doesn't do it to where it's memorable like Val Kilmer did.
Val was just the one scene where they're at the poker table and the one guy with the red bandit comes up with his gun, Bill Paxton's character, and starts flipping his gun around, and Val Kilmer takes his little cup.
His little shot glass with a finger hole. Yeah, that was funny.
He starts flipping it around.
He's really mimicking him and really making light of what he just did with the 6-shooter with his cup. It's really a slap in the face.
Yeah, it was good, though. It was just so good.
Yep.
Favorite food?
I would have to say pizza. I love a good pizza. There's a lot of things I do like, but, give me a good pizza. I'm happy.
I have to say, being from New Jersey, I'm not sure you know what a good pizza is without having Jersey pizza.
I may not, because I've never had pizza from New Jersey. I've had New York style from like New York City area, but I've never had Jersey style pizza. So you may be onto something.
It's New York style.
We've got a Italian restaurant down here that does a Chicago style pizza that I absolutely love it.
Wow, you're killing me now.
I don't like Chicago, but their pizza's good.
You're going to make Tony happy.
It's like Philadelphia makes the cheesesteak sandwich, which I really like a cheesesteak sandwich, but I'm not a big fan of Philadelphia at all either.
Yes,
though.
So actually, that's all my questions.
Got through them without any pain and discomfort, right?
And we learned a lot about TJ today.
Yeah, I mean, people. I've had people say that. You're really quiet. You never say anything during the race. I say a lot of things during the race. I just don't push the button because, heat of the moment, you say some things that you don't really mean or that, in 2 minutes you forget about. But at that particular time, somebody might have done something that caused me to, blow a gasket to an extent. So I don't push the button, generally speaking.
I wish there was more people. I wish I could do that more. But I wish more people would have that type of mentality.
That's why mine is push button. It's not voice activated because otherwise everybody'd hear everything I said, which,
I stream, so everybody hears me regardless. And I've already had people through our racing career, even at FTSR, that have come at me after a stream, like, you said this about me on a racetrack. And I'm like, wow, that's what happens when you stream.
I've watched your streams a lot because, it's cool to go back and it's always neat to get some other driver's perspective on how the race went because, you're sitting in a different chair than I am. So it's always kind of neat to see that. And then it's like every once in a while I'll hear Richie say something. I'll be like, I'm not the only one that has, these little moments in a race where something doesn't go right. So you say something, not necessarily bad, but you know what I mean?
And that's what I try to explain to people. When you're in a race, the other people only hear when I hit the button. And when I'm talking to myself, I did this in a real race car too, where I talk to myself all the time. The difference is there's not a microphone sitting right next to me. So I may catch you in a race and we may do something and I will call you an idiot, but I'm not calling TJ an idiot. I'm calling that situation an idiot. And there's a lot of people that don't understand that.
Right. There's a difference between calling a specific person, hey, you're an idiot, versus going through a scenario on a racetrack where you're just going to blow something out and it's not the same thing. So yeah, I fully understand that. That's one of the reasons I don't stream is it would have to have an R rating.
Mine does.
So yeah. And then I'm not technology advanced enough to do it. So I'm just like, I'm not going to cross that bridge. I'll just, stay in anonymity.
Well, one of the reasons I kind of like doing it, I work with computers, so I'm kind of technical involved. So I have the whole setup here. So I like that aspect of it, but I also do it just to show people what I'm doing. So you could see my driving line. You can see my inputs. You could see what I'm doing during the race. You can literally see what I'm doing live.
Yeah. I mean, I like to go back and watch the broadcasts when we're broadcasted during the season. And I like to go back and watch yours as well. And I've watched Jeff Chandler's too. And there's always things to be learned from watching all of these, even if it's not like your car that they're zoomed in on, it could be there's always things that you can learn. All right, how is that guy getting through 1 and 2? Why is his line's different, but he's faster. So, can I emulate that and increase my lap times? Or, when you see
Absolutely.
somebody do something and you're like, that's why there was a wreck, because somebody made a mistake or somebody just wasn't patient on lap 9 when they should have been a little bit more patient because you don't win the race yet. And, it gives you insight that you don't get locked
Right.
into your cockpit.
Right. So that's all the questions I have. TJ, thank you so much for taking out today. I thought we were going to be on for about 15 minutes.
I'm a bit of a motor mouth, believe it
No,
or
no,
not.
it's good. This is exactly what we want. We wanted to sit down and get to know TJ.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Hopefully people, anybody tuning in, watching, listening, gets a viewpoint of somebody that does this and why they do it, and what they're thinking about when they're doing it and that kind of stuff, and how one thing leads to another in your life that makes you gravitate towards becoming a sim racer.
And I'm hoping through this series, we get to see a few different perspectives. Some of the older generation, some of the newer generation, and to see the backgrounds that we have in FTSR. So,
Yeah, because we do have quite a wide variety of different types of drivers and ages and experience levels and all that. So there's a lot of differences in the driving crew at FTSR these days.
absolutely. Well, that's it for our second episode of FTSR Driver of the Week. I have to once again thank TJ Bartel for joining me tonight. These episodes will be released to our members on Fridays and then to the public on Sundays. Please make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. If you're looking for a league, make sure to check out Full Throttle Sim Racing. You can see all their information on www.ftsr.net. Until next time, later.